Listen to 4 people talking about transport and answer the questions.
1.
I'm afraid I've had a lot of bad experiences, and this was more of the same. It's not that it's inefficient, it's just, for me, there's too much waiting around. The last time was a nightmare. Admittedly, it did involve a stopover and a missed connection, but even so, it seemed like everything went wrong. I'm just glad I didn't use one of the budget carriers. It could have been even worse. The weather started it all. A fog-bound runway meant nothing was leaving, and it's true, you couldn't see a thing. When we were finally cleared for departure, it took almost 15 minutes to walk to the gate. I had priority boarding, and I'd booked an aisle seat, so that was okay. But there was a lot of turbulence shortly after takeoff, which scared a lot of people. Then the transit lounge was closed due to a security alert, and when I finally arrived at my destination, guess what? Lost baggage. My luggage had gone to Hong Kong instead of Jakarta.
2.
It's a great way to travel, really. You can work easily on board and the fares are reasonable if you can book early enough. I know a lot of people complain, and for some people it has a bad image. You know, they are always going on about the delays because of signalling problems and engineering work, but I guess I've been lucky. Having said that, the last journey I made was almost a disaster, as there was a last-minute platform alteration, so I had to run like crazy, but luckily I made it. It seemed to be something to do with the change to the winter timetable and some late running due to the weather. It is supposed to be a high-speed line, but it wasn't that day, I'm afraid. It hasn't put me off, though. Given the choice, it's how I like to travel.
3.
The main problem is it is very unpredictable as a way to travel. Sometimes it's fantastic, fast and door-to-door, but other times it can be awful, although getting out of the city is better since they introduced the congestion charge. It just depends. Last week I had a terrible journey. There was a long tailback due to a big accident. They talked about it on the news, a multi-vehicle pile-up, so that really delayed things. Because of the lane closures, it caused a bottleneck, so the traffic was very slow. You know, crawling along slower than walking, and very stop-start. After about 45 minutes, we started to move properly again. But then there was another problem. Someone had a breakdown. It looked like a puncture and was blocking the carriageway, and right near a junction as well. I don't know. Some days nothing goes my way. But as I say, at other times it's just the best way to travel.
4.
It's not something I've used often, but a few times, and generally I like it. It can be very relaxing and comfortable. The last time was a bit different, though. Well, there had been engine trouble on the previous crossing, so everything was delayed. The captain was very apologetic, and we did get an upgrade to a first-class cabin. Of course, by this time it was low tide and we had to wait again. Delayed sailing, they call it. Once we finally left the harbor, there was more rough weather because of the time of year. Most of the passengers and crew were ill. It wasn't pleasant, I can tell you. We docked about 12 hours late, and I was glad to get back on dry land. As voyages go, it was one of the worst.